Hello everyone, Weedeater Motorcycle here. In today's video we're in the garage and we're going to be looking at where to get a Weedeater engine at, how to tear it down, and where to get a replacement carburetor and other replacement parts like fuel filter and fuel lines. So stay tuned. So you can find them probably in your neighborhood if someone's throwing one away, or you can ask people. One good area to look at is if there's landscapers in your neighborhood. Sometimes they have problems with the machine, and rather than trying to fix it, they'll just throw it out and go buy another one. If they have a Steel or Echo, they're probably more inclined to spend some time and money on fixing it. But if it's like a Home Light, they're quick to just grab another one, and usually they'll still be holding on to their broken machine, so you can go down and usually they'll either let you have it or they'll give it to you for really cheap, maybe like 10 or 20 bucks, and you just replace the carburetor. Or if it's a pull string that's broken, you don't even have to worry about that. Yeah, another place is thrift stores. Haven't seen too many at thrift stores, but your thrift store might carry them. Garage sales is another good place. One area that I did used to avoid was pawn shops, because they were going for almost $100 there. But a few years ago I noticed that some of the pawn shops were selling them for a lot less, like 20 or 30 bucks, because either the cutting head on the end of the Weedeater is missing, or in the case of this one here, this red one right back here was $50, and then it was marked down to 20 just because the little air cleaner filter and the air cleaner cover that's supposed to go right there was missing. So they marked it down from 50 to 20. The most I've paid for a machine was about 30 or 35. That's about my limit. I don't go any higher than that, just because it's a used machine. And usually when I get them, once I get them home, before I start working on them, I usually disconnect the front part of the shaft. If you can see, this one right here has two little L key bolts right down there, and you can just take it off. This is the Home Light Mighty Light Weedeater, by the way, the 27cc model, and it just two L key bolts. You just unscrew those and the front shaft comes off. This one here up on the wall with a solid shaft Weedeater, so I had to take a hacksaw and cut it, and then just pull out the drive shaft inside that tube, pulled that out and just discarded it. And the reason why I do that is so that it's just a lot easier to store these. I usually like to have about 1 or 2 bikes running, and then I usually go out looking for motors either similar to what I already have running on the bicycles, or if not, I'll buy another type of motor, and I'll just hold on to it for spare parts, or for as a spare motor itself. That Home Light up there on the wall is a spare motor, and then this Home Light back here is a spare motor. So today we're going to discuss how to tear down your Weedeater to put on a bicycle and what to take off. So here I have channel locks or vice grips. You're going to need a pair of those. 10 snips or heavy gauge scissors. And then here I have star driver. I got this in a set of 6 star drivers. It's definitely beneficial to have a set of these on hand. These long reach star drivers. Sometimes they call them Torx drivers, but that's a brand name. And here I have a set of star driver bits, and then a T-handle or a regular screwdriver with interchangeable bits. You can use that as well. That'll work, but get both of them. Get the bits and definitely get these, because some of the older Home Lights, like that one on the wall there, have the clutch drum with a long tube in the front with a square hole where the drive shaft goes into, and there's a little set screw down in there holding that clutch drum on, and that long tube. You're definitely going to need one of these to reach in there so you can get that star head screw or that star screw out of there and get that clutch drum off. So to tear down your Weedeater, the first thing I do, once you get it running, of course, I usually leave the Weedeaters in this condition here until I leave the pull start on, so I can tinker with the carburetor if need be. 80% of the time when you get a Weedeater secondhand, it's going to not be running. You're going to have to replace the carburetor or rebuild it. I choose just replace it because then you know it's going to run. But sometimes those repair kits sometimes they don't have everything you need in them to replace everything in the carburetor, and they could be about twice as costly as getting just a new carburetor. This one actually came out of the pawn shop and was running just fine. I just smelt the gas to make sure the gas was still fresh, not varnished, not old, and pulled the rope start and it started right up. It was a surprise. So I'm going to get a piece of plastic box, and I'm going to, I don't know if you can see the tab right there. There's two tabs on the top and bottom that the original air cleaner cover would snap to, but and then just go to a hardware store, get a plastic electric junction box, and then just drill some holes in that and set that, screw that box in there as just a cover, just to keep anything from getting in there. But once you get your carburetor on, and you can use this pull start to start it and get it all tuned up the way you want, and then after that you can go ahead and tear it down. But it's just a lot easier than putting a peg on the motor and then trying to wrap a rope around it and try and start it to see if a carburetor runs. So once your carburetor is good and your engine's running smoothly, then it's time for the tear down. So the first thing I would do is you get this rope, pull this up, and cut it. You don't need this. You can save any spare parts you want for anything else, or if you know a friend that's got a broken starter handle and needs one of these, you can save it for him. The first thing you're going to do is come to the back, or second thing you're going to do is come to the back and take out these coarse thread screws. See, I already done this one, and then this just comes right off. As for the Mighty Light, you might have a different case on your Weedeater, but then you can come in and squeeze the throttle, or have somebody hold the throttle, and then with the throttle blades down, I don't know if you can see that in there, that throttle blade is open. You can put a stick or something in there to hold it open, or you disconnect the cable. This one's already been disconnected, or you can just cut the wire. We're not actually going to be using this throttle cable. Some people join it up with a bicycle cable, but for this project we're just going to straight use a bicycle cable because it's a lot easier than trying to marry up those two wires. Then here in the front, these holes right here are where they're holding the pull start, right here and right here, and there's two more on the bottom, and that's these coarse screws here, coarse thread screws. You remove those, and then right there, it's right here underneath, and then on both other sides are four in total, four mounting holes that mount this bell housing onto the actual engine case, and that's these fine thread screws. They're pretty small. Let me get my finger on it so you can see. So on the Mighty Light, these are actually smaller screws than the normal screws that you would see. So the one on the right is the Mighty Light, smaller screws, and the one on the left is the standard screw that you would normally see holding that bell housing onto the crankcase in the Weedeater. And if you try to mount with these smaller screws, if you try to mount the Weedeater on your bike, those screws will break easily at the head. So the next step you want to do is pull this bell housing forward, or pull your motor back, and then you see the stop switch right here. Mine's actually been cut. I've already cut mine off, but you take either a needle nose plier and break that plastic, or tin snips. You get your tin snips out and cut the plastic right there. See, I kind of broke the plastic up, and then I can move that stop switch out of the way and pull the bell housing from the Weedeater. And you can use the handle. You can recycle the handle. Usually just hold on with wing nuts. You set that aside. Now this motor's been already disassembled, hold on. It's a good idea to hold on to these screws, because if you have any radio controlled car or airplane or boat projects, those are great screws to use. Just remember, most of them are going to be coarse thread. Well, in my case, most of them were coarse thread, and then only 4 were actually fine thread. And now things are going to get a little bit messy, because now we got the clutch. So got these little clutch shoes. You got 2 of them with this spring, and these are going to be, if they'll sit for me, they're going to be around your clutch like this. So what you do is you just get your tin snips, open up your tin snips, and you just come down and grab that spring like so, and then just cut it. And it's going to take a little bit of force, but you usually be able to cut it. Might see a cool spark when you do cut it. That's what happened with this one. And then you can just take the point of the tin snips or a flat tip screwdriver and just wrestle that spring out of there. Now you got the clutch nut, and this thing is on pretty tight. And I don't know if you can see right there, it actually says off, and it says the direction to turn it off or to take it off. And it's a left hand to loosen, so it's a standard thread. So in order to get that off, I do not recommend hitting it with a hammer, because that's going to take all day and you're not really going to make much progress, or as much progress as what I'm about to show you. So here you got the magnet block right here. And you got all these little fins, and then you have another block right here, solid block. It's a counterweight for the magnets. And one of those you're going to want to put a thick screwdriver, or in this case I'm using a T40 star driver. And you're going to want somebody to hold that in place, and then you're going to get your channel locks, and you're going to grab this, and with them holding it, you're going to put some force to unscrew this. I know I'm making it look super easy, but it's not gonna be easy as this. Well, some cases it might be, but in my case it was not. This sucker was on there good, and I had to apply some force. It's not too much force, but you'll make a lot more progress this way than if you're sitting there banging on it with a hammer. Once that's done, you remove those pieces and you take off the washer, your rope pull. I suggest you hold on to this rope pull. There's some more screws we can use for any other projects, and you can use the rope out of there too if you want to hang something up, like another Weedeater up on the wall or something. And then you have this sleeve, and then you have a washer. If you don't have a washer sitting in the bottom, definitely go look for a washer that will fit in there. It's not too big. Now if you got your Weedeater torn apart like this and you're still waiting on a drive peg or a socket or whatever, if you're waiting on your spindle or waiting to get your spindle, I suggest putting that back on, that tube, put the washer, and then stack a few more washers on it. Okay, here's some, they're not really washers, these are parts that hold a bicycle seat on. They're under the underside where the seat clamp would hold, and this would grab the rails of the seat, of the bicycle seat. So not really washers, but I'm going to use them as washers. And I'm just going to put probably just one for now. Now the threading of this shaft is usually, I found it to be the same thread. I think it's 26 T thread that's used on the rear axle on bicycles. So what I have here is just a nut from a rear bicycle rear axle, and we're just going to put that on there. And as you can see, it fits perfect. I'm not going to torque it down because I'm still waiting to get the Still waiting on the peg. So if you're waiting on the peg, this is how you can have your motor bearing ready to go and still keep that. Put a nut on there to keep, you're trying to keep this on the flywheel, because if you take this off and your motor gets bumped, your flywheel could get knocked free. So it's really important that you keep your flywheel on with this method, or that you keep it on, period. So got these bits, clutch bits. I'm just gonna trash these because I really don't need a clutch. Some people try to use a clutch on the Weedeaters, and that's a no-go. You can't use a clutch. Clutch is not going to pull you. I've tried different things. I've tried a clutch with a spindle drive with a roller skate wheel. It does not work. The clutch just slips and you go nowhere. But, yeah, the carburetors I get from Amazon, they're about $10, about 10 to 12 bucks, usually for like home lights and Ryobis. You just type in, go to Amazon, type in home light Weedeater carburetor or Ryobi Weedeater carburetor. Usually about 10 or 12 bucks. A rebuild kit is going to run you about $20, and you're not guaranteed to have all the pieces you need to rebuild that carburetor. I think a few of them are missing. They may be missing the little fuel metering needle inside. In your carburetor, that fuel metering needle might be used up and it can't set right, or there might be some other part of the Weedeater that you're not able to get with that kit. So, and then you spend all that time cleaning the thing and then it doesn't run. It can get pretty frustrating. So it's, in my experience, it's less expensive and just all around easier and better to get just a brand new carburetor. Problem solved. And because then you know it's going to run then. 80% of the time a Weedeater doesn't run is because the carburetor's dirty or have something wrong with it. Diaphragms are dried or cracked. Replace your fuel lines and your intake, the drop intake fuel filter too as well when you replace your carburetor. So that's it, guys. How to tear down your Weedeater. That's the extent of tearing down your Weedeater. That's what you're going to end up with afterwards. No plastic covers, or at least minimal plastic covers if you got those old home lights with the rear crankcase cover on there. That's it, guys. Stay tuned, and in the meantime you can subscribe and give me a thumbs up on this video if you liked it, and comment or questions, and we'll move on to the next video and get this project going. And be safe and happy motoring, guys. Bye.